Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. How's Eddie Frederick?
So glad you can join us. Monkeypox patient in Jamaica back in isolation after he escaped from the hospital. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Wednesday, 13th July 2022. Details when we return.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. The man who landed in Jamaica recently from England to attend a funeral and who was diagnosed as Jamaica's first case of monkeypox escaped from the hospital where he was isolated through a window and was captured on surveillance camera being carried away by a waiting car. The good news is he has been recaptured and placed all over again in isolation. Janella Precious of TVJ News reports.
There were frantic scenes inside the Maypen Hospital in Clarendon Saturday after it was realized that a patient who had been in isolation after being diagnosed with monkeypox was missing. He was admitted this week after presenting with symptoms, becoming the country's first case of the contagious disease. The Ministry of Health reported that the man arrived from the United Kingdom, where cases are on the rise. It remains unclear what prompted his escape from the hospital. This was Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton once the word got out.
I can confirm that the patient who was in isolation at Maypen Hospital with a diagnosis of monkeypox disease has fled the institution. He made his escape, for want of a better word, through a bathroom window. And so he didn't just walk through the doors. He went to the bathroom, went through the window, and boarded a waiting motor car, which took him from the premises. We do have footage, hospital footage of the motor vehicle and its license plate number, and the police have been notified. They have been to his home. He's not there, but investigations continue.
Investigators were then led here to Shekelston, Four Paths, Clarendon, where the patient was reportedly found at a relative's house. Residents who didn't want to speak on camera say they're in disbelief and are equally disappointed. They're also concerned about being stigmatized arising from the incident. Questions are also being raised about how patients deemed high risk are monitored at health facilities. Now, it's understood that the patient came to Jamaica to attend a funeral which was held yesterday. He's scheduled to return to the United Kingdom. This has been delayed due to his current condition. Monkeypox symptoms, according to health experts, can last up to 4 weeks. The virus is transmitted to humans through close contact with an infected person. It is expected that the persons with whom the patient came in contact with will be placed in quarantine. It's unclear what further action will be taken against the patient as well as the person who transported him from the hospital. Janella Precious, TVJ News.
Barbados' Attorney General Dale Marshall has signaled the Royal Barbados Police Force's willingness to assist OECS territories in their fight against crime, which he says has been on the increase in every member state.
In addressing a July 8th press conference, Barbados Attorney General Dale Marshall noted that crime has been on the increase in every OECS member state. He made reference to one OECS country in particular, where the government has sought the intervention of the Regional Security System, RSS, to battle the scourge of crime. As part of the RSS, he indicated that Barbados stands ready to assist.
I can reveal to you that only in the last few days, one RSS member state, and that is a member state of the Regional Security System made up of the OECS, Barbados, and now Guyana. One RSS member state has asked for assistance under the RSS Treaty so as to be able to deal with their spike in vicious crime. And The commissioner has assured me that he's going to be able to lend that particular territory a few of our officers to be able to bolster their own policing efforts.
Mr. Marshall also addressed the wider issue of firearm trafficking across the region and spoke of measures to reduce, eliminate, and block opportunities to engage in this illegal trade. He declared that a considerable amount of resources had been spent on areas such as coastal surveillance, as well as strengthening detection systems at ports of entry. However, the unavailability of certain resources over long periods has to some extent defeated the whole purpose.
To be candid, I have to tell you that there have been periods in the past when these assets have not been in working order and have not been in working order for extended periods of time, in some instances, well over a year. Now, if our ability to detect firearms coming into Barbados is so significantly hampered because assets are out of use for a year and a half, then you can only imagine what number of guns could have come in at that time.
The challenge, Mr. Marshall notes, is to get the firearms off the streets and out of the hands of the dangerous criminal elements. For the DBS News World, I'm Don Nicholas.
A proposed sex offenders registry is on the cards for Antigua and Barbuda and would require sex convicts to report to police years after serving their sentences. More in this ABS News item with Jamie J. Roger.
Once you are convicted and you're placed on the register, you have to report every 6 months to a designated officer at a designated area to be checked out what you do, where you go, who you deal with, especially where children and vulnerable persons are involved.
Attorney General the Honorable Frederick Benjamin moved in a national sex offender registry bill in the lower house Monday. Under the proposed law, people convicted of sexual offences will be placed on a register and subjected to several restrictions even after completing their sentence. St. John's Rural South Member of Parliament, the Honorable Darrell Matthew, says the registry is important to keep sex offenders away from schools.
And not only in schools, our places of enjoyment, where we go to, for sports. You know, you go to JSC or YMCA, or you go to YASCO. You understand? And we go to the Cedar Valley Golf Course. These places where children should go and be allowed to be children.
Social Transformation Minister, the Honorable Dean Jonas, says there are many reports of sexual offences against minors in the country. He disagrees with the provision of the bill that makes the register private unless someone makes a specific inquiry about a suspicious individual. Even then, the proposed law makes it an offence for that person to share the information with others.
You cannot set up a registry and keep the registry away from the public. It would you defeat the whole purpose of having the registry in the first place.
Barbuda MP, the Honorable Trevor Walker, disagrees with MP Jonas, saying the law may violate people's constitutional right to privacy if the measures are too strict.
Mr. Speaker, it says one, a person may apply to the Commissioner of Police for information whether a named individual is a registered sexual offender. Mr. Speaker, I don't see anything wrong with that. If you have some sort of suspicion and you have whatever and so on, again, the process can be simplified, but you apply to the Commissioner of Police. I don't think the Commissioner of Police should have this register as a register willy-nilly, and as it said, it can be tampered with, it can be whatever and so on. It has to be a protected register in a particular way that has some potency, that people trust the information.
The lower house has agreed to set up a committee to review the bill. The committee is being chaired by the Attorney General and includes Opposition Leader Jamal Pringle, Barbuda MP Trevor Walker, Social Transformation Minister MP Dean Jonas, Education Minister MP Darrell Matthew, and St. John's Rural East MP Maria Brown. Jamie J. Roche, ABS News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
A year has passed since Haitian President Jovenel Moïse was assassinated at his private home, where an elite security team was supposed to protect him. And up to this day, the investigations seem to be going nowhere as to bringing his assassins to justice.
Not only have authorities failed to identify and arrest all those who masterminded and financed the killing, but Haiti has gone into a free fall as violence soars and the economy tumbles. Many have fled Haiti in the past year, making potentially deadly voyages aboard rickety boats filled with hundreds of Haitians who have repeatedly turned up on the shores of nearby nations. They chose to face that risk rather than go hungry and fear for their lives, as do many people who have stayed behind. Every day it is a fight. It is a fight to stay alive, it is a fight to eat, it is a fight to survive, some of Haiti's residents related. Killings have soared and thousands of families have been driven from their homes by gangs battling over territory ever since Moise was shot last July 7th at his home near the capital, Port-au-Prince. An overwhelmed government is struggling to crack down on the gangs and reduce a spike in kidnappings linked to them. At the same time, attempts to form a coalition government have faltered in recent weeks and efforts to hold general elections have stalled, leaving many wondering where Haiti is headed. Prime Minister Ariel Henry has promised to create a new provisional council to organize general elections, but that hasn't happened. There hasn't been a parliament because the government failed to organize elections in 2019, and Moise dismissed most lawmakers in early 2020 and ruled by decree for more than a year before he was killed.
An opposition member of parliament in Trinidad and Tobago has challenged the National Security Minister to bring the data with regard to the minister's claim that state security agencies have a very, very clear picture of who was paid which money and by whom and how much to stage fiery protests in Port of Spain. The opposition MP also said because of the high number of violent crimes, including murders, this country should no longer be referred to as TNT, but TT. What does he mean? TV6's Jewel Brown reports.
Like Boris Johnson in the UK and the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, he must consider stepping down before it is too late. As a result of Dr. Rowley's leadership, we may best change the name of our country from TNT to TT, Tombstone Territory.
Naparima MP Rodney Charles during the opposition's news conference on Sunday, as he said there have been 284 murders for the year so far in Trinidad and Tobago. As he assessed the response of the government led by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, Mr. Charles referenced Boris Johnson, who is to resign as the British Prime Minister after a series of political scandals in the UK.
I do not understand why the PNM backbenchers do not do what the Conservative backbenchers did in the British Parliament by voting and indicating that the Prime Minister should leave because of his action.
MP Charles also issued a challenge with regard to comments made by National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines about the fiery protests in East Port of Spain last Monday.
I say publicly, fortuitously, we now have a very, very clear picture of what happened in those events, who was paid which money, and by whom, and how much.
Not analyzing what could be the cause of the riots, not understanding the deep hurt of mothers whose boy children have been shot and killed, some from behind, not understanding that he comes up with the trivial nonsense, in my view, foolishness. So we dismiss that. Bring the data or shut up, Minister Hines.
MP Charles also had questions regarding the Prime Minister's recent statement that the time has come to declare violence as a public health emergency in Trinidad and Tobago.
So is this a scheme to hand the national security job to DLC? Is it that you wish to impose draconian crime-fighting measures under the guise of a health emergency?
The opposition MP also spoke about what he identified as the police-to-citizen ratio in Trinidad and Tobago as compared to one North American city.
We already have 10,000 SRPs and police officers for a population of only 1.4 million. Toronto, by contrast, has 5,000 police officers, half ours, for a population of 3 million, twice ours, and they have less than 100 murders annually. So the solution is not more police, but better trained, equipped, and managed police officers.
On its website, the police service says there are over 6,500 police officers in varying ranks and specialized reserve police in 9 divisions and 18 branches, squads, and units. Jewel Brown, TV6 News.
Hubbard's Motor Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.